Okay, hello world.
Sure.
It's Santari and Santari Green, and I'm going to interview Santari about one of his latest books, The Way of Dragons. Santari and I have written a whole bunch of books between us, actually, and we love writing. And I would say somehow we've tapped the power, the genius of writing. Most definitely, you have, Santari, for sure. So, this latest book, The Way of Dragons, I know that you and I love dragons,
Sure.
but this isn't exactly that, is it? It's something different. So, what's The Way of Dragons about?
Well, how long do we have really for me to talk about it? In a nutshell, it's about self-discovery. With the opening chapter, you are plunged into this situation where somebody is almost like he maybe comes out of a coma or has amnesia or some sort of condition which isn't fully described, but he just really realizes that he's in a body and he has some information, to guide him about, where he is and what he should do. But the book is really about self-discovery, about breaking apart all the limitations that people have about ideas of their own physicality and of life in general, and to really come to terms with that you may be some unknown intelligence placed into physical form and you can make it up. And that's almost like the starting premise of the book, that nothing is set in stone, but it's also like the reader or the listener for an audiobook can almost like go on their own journey as well. And what the book is almost like showing them is that you can ask questions of yourself about, "Oh, what is it that I'm experiencing? What do I feel? Where are my thoughts leading me? Is there some sort of end goal?" So there really isn't anything that's um, the book is moving you towards. It's very open in its scope and in its depth, and it just requires you to approach it with an open mind.
Sorry, I put myself on mute. Where does the concept of dragons fit into it?
Well, as you and I have had some experience in the past about dragons, they're almost like a mythical creature or being. But what you believe a dragon to be is, of course, just really based upon your own feelings and desires. But in this context, I'm saying that a dragon is an unknown entity. It is an unbounded intelligence. It is something which, once you feel that you are this intelligence, this being, this entity, then you can just know anything. You can talk about anything. You can breathe life, in fact, into the words that you use to describe the world in which you live. So it is very much something which we have an experience of and have put into this book and have called it The Way of Dragons. And it's very interesting because there's a Chinese philosophy called Taoism, and the word Tao means the way, the path, the journey. And this is almost like a way in which you are identifying yourself with the most amazing thing that could ever possibly be. You might say that a dragon is a god or a form of God, and that's how it could be presented. And that, in fact, is how it is talked of in one part of the book. But again, it's nothing that's set in stone to say what a dragon is. But in the book, you're told that it's a magnificent creature and it can be talked about, in wondrously evocative and poetic language.
Yeah.
And that is almost like that's how it's portrayed. That's what the Way of Dragons is about, talking about this way of living and of life and of relishing it and putting across something of the narrative of life that is in story form, because there are many stories in the book itself, even in the one big story arc, which the character is really going, from episode to episode, but it's not an actual day by day description. It is about events in this person's life, which you're almost like going on this journey and you think, wow, that I could live my life in that way would be amazing. So that, in fact, is what I'm trying to put across.
In a way, I guess you're saying that there's a magnificence that dwells within us all, and it's the journey of discovery to find that, right? Something like that?
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly that.
yeah, yes. So what inspired you to write the book?
Well, there wasn't anything that I had as an idea or an inspiration to begin with. I just started one day, to write, just to write really a few paragraphs. And I liked what I wrote. And in fact, I probably wrote about 3 or 4 pages. And then it's like I couldn't do anything further. I didn't know how to fill in the what could be a book from it. It was just a piece of a story. And I didn't have the urge to take it further, even though I really liked what I had written. And I think that's how it is sometimes.
Yeah,
You have something which comes to you and you run with it and it stays with you for a while. And then you wonder, well, what on earth can I do with this? So it was like in that form for several years, maybe 4 or 5 years, before I found out that I had the impetus to actually put more story to it, to actually flesh it out, to see that there is a story that I wanted to tell. But at the time of its inception, I didn't know what that story could be. And though I had the title for the book, I mean, that still didn't give me enough insight into, what eventually it would become.
yeah,
In fact, it started in 2011 and it finished in December of 2019. So that gives you an idea of the time span in which it was maturing,
yeah,
to give it a better word.
yeah, wonderful. In a way, it kind of matches your own adventure,
Surely.
journey, curiosity of becoming. And but it's not about you, it's kind of for anyone, isn't it, who wants to kind of open that journey up for themselves, I would think, just by the
Hmm.
very nature of it.
You'll find many references in the book about Odysseus and his Odyssey. And the comparison with that and the main character that he makes is that he himself is on his own journey. And what he found from the story of Odysseus was that he represented certain qualities of courage, of steadfastness, of perseverance, and that he was a hero. And that type of association allows the character to sort of like go on his own journey, make his own discoveries, and to be fearless. So it is at one point you find out that he is making big ground in actually going outside the front door, because that marks a departure from what is known to into the unknown. Doesn't know what's outside the front door, although he has been told that there are certain things there. And it is this ability to be able to find newness all the time, to go outside your door, and there are things that you don't expect. That there is something which almost like draws you. Is it the sunshine? Is it the sound of children playing? Is it the thought that you might go to the seaside and have an adventure by the seaside? What would it feel like? That of course is also part of the storyline too.
Yeah,
But he goes to the seaside and he just makes his own discoveries and finds that there's experiences, his life's experiences are now being made, which really sort of like then flesh out his life. It isn't all about staying in your head and thinking what's outside that front door. It's about journeying and discovering what's outside the limitations of your own thoughts and feelings, and making life up basically as you go along.
yeah. What's your favorite passage in the book?
It's about the white wolves. There is a story, a short story in there about the white wolves, and this is his first attempt at storytelling. He's given a sort of an example of what a story is, and then he finds, the confidence to be able to, oh well, I'm given certain ideas of how to start a story. I should connect with the main theme of the story, what the story's about. So the character connects with this mythical place called the Icelands, what he's heard about it. It's extremely cold, and there are dangerous creatures that live there and have lived there. So it's an invented story that I made up about the white wolves, and I really enjoyed what I learned from the doing it myself. That it wasn't about the story of the white wolves per se, but it's the identification with another species, and to be able to find that um, something in you is almost like drawn out to know about that species,
Yeah.
even if it's a species that's made up. And it's like it's sort of like draws you into it, the story, because you feel so connected with the land, with the storytelling, with the white wolves themselves, that you feel as if you are there, with the ice crackling underfoot, and you're feeling that your breath is starting to freeze in front of you.
Yeah.
And you're then in the mythical, again, age of wonder, where you are having to understand, what is it that I'm facing? Am I facing my own fears? No, you're actually looking at life. You're looking at this panorama of life, and it's speaking with you. And all you have to do for that moment is to stop, take stock, and listen. And he finds that in listening to the white wolf that comes to him in a vision later, that it wasn't about the white wolf and the story of the wolves at all, but it's about that feeling of connection with life, which is so dramatically on pause for many people, that when they really stop the pause button and they engage, they find, oh my gosh, there's so much that I didn't realize that was right there at my fingertips. And I'd only really to open my eyes and to see, and to open my ears and to listen,
Yeah.
and to open, in the depths of my being, and to have that richness of feeling. And I would discover something about life which I'd never known before.
Yeah. You do have this magical way with words. It's not, no matter what you were writing, whether it was a normal sentence or a, fantastical thing, there's a cadence to it, a wave form to it that carries the reader someplace other, where those journeys of discoveries, come into play, where we discover who and what we really are, kind of thing. So,
Hmm.
yeah,
Again, there's a passage in the book where his inner voice tells him to concentrate on, his speaking, his narration, and he realizes that he has this ability to influence people. It's almost like he moderates his tone in the storytelling, and he takes people on journeys. And it is like, as you say, a waveform that is being ridden. And in that way, people are no longer listening to the words.
yeah,
They are actually on their own inner journey, and they're being taken along, sort of like by this inner intelligence that takes over in the storytelling. And then it's like this whole thing is effortless,
yeah,
but it begins, by almost like connecting with something that, as you say, is magnificent in itself, and that is almost like a key, I think, in storytelling.
And you have the book now on Amazon, and you're doing the audiobook reading of it in the audiobook project on Facebook for anybody who was
That is
wondering
correct.
that, so they can connect with you and listen to it. And then it'll go up as an audio file later, I'm assuming. But
It'll go up to be distributed on Audible and iTunes and Amazon, and it can also be bought then also as an audiobook from the website when I've finished. And I'm putting together a primer which gives insights about, how the book was written and what I was thinking about with certain passages. that almost like gives more depth, in fact, to the story itself.
Fantastic. And are you planning a sequel?
Ah, yes. It is a possibility. I'm not going to say quite probable, but it is something that I have thought about. And I'm not sure yet how it's going to be done, whether it's going to be, again, some undiscovered writing from the journals, or whether it's going to be taking you into the dragon portal, the place where he's come from, and what you might discover there. Or again, it could be something of a completely different context yet, which I haven't thought about.
Yeah.
But let's say it's a possibility stroke probability. Yes, which I would look forward to.
So if anybody wants to get it, it's on Amazon in print. It's The Way of Dragons by Santari Green, and you can listen to it chapter by chapter on Facebook at the Audiobook Project. They should just get in touch with you to join that group, right?
And it's also on Kindle.
Oh yeah, fantastic. Yeah. Super. Well, thanks for listening, everybody, and I hope you enjoy The Way of Dragons. Thanks
My
a lot.
pleasure. Bye
Bye.
for now.